Hello everyone, welcome to Australia, welcome to Australian Book Travels and to this week's episode of our book recommendations and chat. Not fireside chat, although it feels like the fire is on, that's for sure. It is so hot here, everyone. It is Sunday afternoon on what's the date today? The 19th of January. I'm recording this in the afternoon, Sunday afternoon for you to be uploaded on Monday morning. Usually if I'm going to record these on a Sunday, it's usually in the morning, but the whole family, the dogs, the cat, everyone, we all went away yesterday to a friend's house some 3.5 hours away. And we spent the night in a pet-friendly accommodation. But the whole premise of going to our friend's place was to meet up with all old school friends and their partners and just all old friends, cousins of those friends who became friends when we were younger and we left school. There's a whole group of us. There's about 15 of us, including our partners. And, sorry everyone, a bit itchy. It's the heat, I think. So yes, we all got together last night. Some of us stayed in the town in pet-friendly accommodation. A couple of us had our dogs, and we had a lovely meal. We all contributed. Some of us, I took some dessert. Other people took dessert, and other friends made little hors d'oeuvres and main meals and all of that. So we had a lovely time. It was lovely. We haven't actually all caught up together like that for probably, it must be over 12 months. Normally, we can see each other at different times individually, but all together like that, it's chaotic. We're all loud. We all talk over each other. Some of us louder than others, but it's wonderful. It is wonderful to catch up with those old friends. I have known them for many, many years. And, we've come in and out of each other's lives and we've done things that, some of us have gone overseas and interstate and all of that. But we've kept in touch through each other. And over the last few years, all of us have made sure that we try to catch up more often. But yes, we hadn't seen each other for about 12 months altogether. We have seen each other, as I say, maybe two at a time or individually, but it was wonderful catching up. It was really, really good. We had some laughs, we had some nattering, and it was just wonderful. But anyway, that's why this afternoon we had to drive home this morning. We took our time and we came home probably about maybe half an hour ago, and I thought I'll get right onto our book recommendations so that they're ready for you tomorrow morning. But it is hot. It is now, I think, about 34 degrees, and luckily the house has been locked up with the blinds down and all the doors closed. So each room, apart from this room, because this room does face west, even though we have a veranda, it still faces west. We still get a bit of light in. The light on this video today may not be as bright as other videos because the blinds are down. I'm trying to keep the heat out as much as possible. But that being said, this room is a little bit warmer than the other rooms because they all face south, or they are at the south end of the house. So they keep a little bit cooler when they're all locked up. So yes, it is warm, everyone, but that's to be expected in Australia, central Victoria, in the middle of summer. We were hoping it was going to be a bit cooler, but it's not. And we're desperate. We are absolutely desperate for rain. Our dam is well under half capacity. So yeah, we're really desperate for rain. But anyway, and a catch up on the chickens. There's 6 little chicks, 3 with the mother and 3 that we hand reared. They're all doing really well. They're all cheeky. They seem to be growing and blossoming. They're doing really well. So that's good. That's a nice thing. Okay, let's get on to this. I want to try and be as quick as I can for you. This first one, you all know, a few weeks ago I bought and had delivered a box of books from England from the lovely bookshop Tea Leaves and Reads. One of those books was this, Maude Horton's Glorious Revenge. Everyone, have to put my sunglasses. I have to put my spectacles on. Anyway, this is Maude Horton's Glorious Revenge, Lizzie Pook, by Lizzie Pook. Now, I'll just discuss the physical book first. This is gold foil sort of embossing on the text, on the cover. Unfortunately, as I've been reading it, you may be able to see there, I hope you can see, some of the gold foiling has rubbed off. So I was really looking forward to this book, but we had another book quite some time ago that did the same thing. I think that was, I can't remember which one that was now, but this one has done exactly the same. It's rubbed off. So I have proposed to myself that what I may do is very quickly make a book cover in material, and because this gold foiling seems to be quite the rage now. It's lovely, it looks fantastic, but it does rub off, which can sort of, for me, on my bookshelf, it tends to damage what, it does make the book look more worn and mishandled than what it really is. So I think this is going to be quite the trend with the gold foiling. So I'm going to perhaps just zip up on the sewing machine a little cover so that when I purchase these books and I'm reading them, I can just pop the cover on and hopefully it won't damage the foiling. But anyway, enough of that. So this is Maude Horton's Glorious Revenge by Lizzie Pook, English writer, set in England. Okay, let's get into this. Now, it is, as I say, I was really, really looking forward to this book. Without acknowledgements, there are historical notes. Without those and the acknowledgements, it is 312 pages. And it is by Picador. And I think it was 2024, I think it was published in 2024. Let me have a look. Yes, 2024 by Picador. So I was looking forward to this and it far exceeded my expectations. Okay, let's be brutally honest. It's brilliant. It is Gothic. It really ticks all those boxes for a Gothic story. Brilliantly written, absolutely brilliant. It does have, I'll just warn you before we get into a little bit of the story, it does have some macabre elements. However, don't let that put you off because they are very pertinent to the story. They're very pertinent to one of our characters, and this is set in between 1849 and 1851. So those elements are very true, or what we believe to be true, to people at the time. The really macabre bits, as I say, they are pertinent to one of the characters in the book. It sets up the story as to where he's coming from, and where he's going to lead us in this story. But it is the more sort of grisly bits, I guess, the macabre bits are the character as well, and what he's thinking, but it is part of the story takes us on an expedition to the Arctic where they slaughter animals. So for me, I found that quite grisly, but not enough to put me off the story. I understood and I understand that is how these things played out, particularly in the 1850s. Overall, this novel gave me the feeling of Dickens. It really has Dickensian elements to it. For two reasons. One, because it is set in the late 1840s, 1850s, early 1850s. which is our Dickensian times. Also, Lizzie Pook has a beautiful way of writing. The prose is it's not modern at all. It is, it's you read it, well, it's not quite a Dickens, Dickens elements to the writing, but it just has that feel to it. It's not a modern read or a modern write, not just because of the timeline, but the way Lizzie Pook has a beautiful way of writing, which helps to set you up to feel that you are in the 1840s, 1850s. There's no doubt you're in this time. I loved the writing. I absolutely loved it. Now, the story, we have one main protagonist, but really three. We get the story from three different avenues, all of them main players in this story. There are twists and turns, there are heartbreaking moments, there are heart-stopping moments. I thoroughly enjoyed this. The storyline is original. I was blown away. I thought this definitely exceeded my expectations. I thought it was going to be a nice little sort of mystery, but it's so much more than that. It has mysteries within the mystery. It has, yes, these macabre elements, but one of our characters is extremely evil. I would go as far to say as sadistic, but not to the point where you can't read it. Not to the point, if I can read it, honestly, anybody can read it, because I tend to be a bit squeamish with those sorts of things, but not so with this. I mean, it did grab at my heart, but I was still able to read them for what they were, which was setting up the story, particularly, as I say, in this sort of evil, sadistic character, clearly dysfunctional both from nature and nurture, so he had double whammy. But it's intriguing. This was compelling. I didn't want to put it down. And when I started reading it, I thought, oh, this is great. This is a really good story. And then it just became deeper and deeper and darker, to the point of being riveting, dark, not off-putting by any stretch of the imagination, and twists and turns. And is that what we really think? Is that where she's really taking us? It was brilliant. I loved it. Please do yourself a favour and purchase yourself or go to the library and read Maude Horton's glorious Revenge. Vengeance is Bittersweet by Lizzie Pook. Absolutely wonderful. If you love, there is a little bit of it's a beautiful love story actually, but it doesn't dominate at all. In fact, it's just a fine thread through really at the end of the story, but it is a love story, or there is one love story contained within. Historical. Now Lizzie does these historical notes at the back that she gives us, explains that macabre, sort of horrible human against animal behaviour that I know it goes on even today, but certainly in the 1800s was quite horrible. But she doesn't go into too much detail. It's just enough to tell us that yes, that was awful, yes, it did happen, and yes, this is who one of our characters is. I loved it. Do yourself a favour. Now, it reminded me, this is very Dickensian, I think, or close to it, for what it is. Quite some time ago, probably a year ago when the channel first began, I had already read this and I recommended it to you. This is an Australian author. I thought it was pertinent because similar but not. These both give me a Dickensian feel, not in this one, not in the writing so much, but in the social aspect and the as Charles Dickens did, those social injustices, and it really, Charles Dickens gave us those social injustices, or he certainly wrote them at the time for his audience at the time in a subtle way. Not so subtle, but there was a subtlety. And he was trying to do that to expose the injustices at the time. Shankari Chandran is an Australian with Indian descent. This is Chai Time at Cinnamon Gardens. I recommend you read this. It's set in Australia in contemporary time, but she writes this beautifully. This was written, I think it was 2022. I'm pretty sure. Yes, originally published in 2022. That's good. Not bad memory, by Ultima Press. Now, this one is 360 pages. A really, really good read. I recommend it. And recommending this one to you brought this one back to me that I thought I would remind you all, if you haven't seen the recommendation from a year and a bit ago, when the channel first began, I recommended this. I'm in raptures over this. It's a great story, contemporary, as I say, and contemporary writing, but has that Dickensian feel insofar as the highlighting the social injustices, but putting it into a story that is of modern day, that we can all relate to in some way, shape or form. So I recommend this again to you. It is a brilliant read. If you haven't read it, please do. I think you will enjoy it. There is a love story actually in it, but it's not about that. Shankari just brings that into the story because the rest of the story grows or has grown around that little love story. There is a more modern day love story too, but yeah, there's a bit of tugging and a social sort of tugging and weaving and ducking and that I think anybody around the world could relate to. This is absolutely brilliant. Now, Shankari did win a number of prizes for this, literary prizes. It is great, and I loved it. So these two, really, really good. This is more of this has a little bit of mystery to it, but not much. It's more about social injustices in Australia, but of course very relevant around the world. But this has got mystery, a little bit of a love story, mystery within mystery. It gives us historical content. Brilliant. And this has a little bit of historical content too, actually. It tells you about the wars in, I think it's Sri Lanka at the time, which is now, Ceylon at the time, which is now Sri Lanka. From memory, I think. I'm fairly sure. But anyway, it's set in Sydney here in Australia. So I recommend those. Now, another one that I bought from Abby's Bookshop quite some time ago. This was on special. It is still available for you. I do recommend it if you are interested in Australia and Australian flora and fauna. This is Platypus Matters, The Extraordinary Story of Australian Mammals by Jack Ashby. Now, Jack is an Englishman. He is, now, I think he is, from memory, and the assistant director of the Museum of Zoology in Cambridge, in England. I'm fairly sure. And I think I can find that at the back here. I'm just going to check that because I don't want to mislead you. And I don't want to look like a bit of a twit. Jack Ashby is the assistant director of the University Museum of Zoology, Cambridge. Is that what I said? Fairly close to it. Anyway, so he has studied the platypus. The platypus is an incredible mammal here in Australia. And a really intriguingly put together animal. In a few weeks, or in this next week, Mark and I are going to go somewhere in the wild to try and film platypus for you. We want to catch them in the wild, but you probably won't see that video for a little period of time. But that is our intention this weekend. This weekend is celebration here in Australia, whether you call it a celebration. It is quite a contentious issue, but whatever, the real point is, it is the 26th of January, which is celebrated here as Australia Day. It is a contentious issue, and I don't want to go into that, but it is a long weekend for us. So we thought, Mark has a few days off, so we thought we would take you somewhere and try. We may not be successful, but we would like to, from a distance, see if we can, in one of our rivers, we think we know where there are platypus. So that's what we want to do. But if you want to know anything about Australian mammals, and particularly these extraordinary ones, and not necessarily very well known. Everyone knows the kangaroo and the koala, and they are not bears, by the way. The koala is not a bear. We often hear people particularly in America, but also in the UK, call them koala bears, and they are not a bear. So the koala and the kangaroo are very well known, not so much our beautiful platypus. So yes, look, I recommend this. It does. Jack has studied these animals as well as other animals, Australian animals, the echidna and our possums and the now extinct Tasmanian tiger. But it has black and white photos and colour photos for you. If you are interested at all in Australia and you want to know a little bit more about our fauna, I recommend this. It's not the only one on the market, and it's not necessarily the absolute best. There are other books that I will show you over time, but I did enjoy this, and it is comprehensive. It is a very, very good reference book. It's not one that you necessarily have to sit down and read from cover to cover. You can flick through it for certain animals and mammals. It does also give you history from when Australia was first discovered by the Europeans, and it gives you the history of what they found out about the mammals in Australia. I recommend this. Now, this is by William Collins. It is all up. It has reference, index, everything included from cover to cover is 369 pages. But a really good, informative read. Really good read. I recommend that one. Now, our last one, although it comes in a series, this is Vivian Conroy's Miss Ashford series. If any of you know the Kerry Greenwood Miss Phryne Fisher series, it's not dissimilar to that. But our Miss Ashford, from memory, she is in the 20s or 30s. It's been a while since I read these ones. 1930, this one begins. They're really good, just a comfy, cozy murder mystery read. As I say, not dissimilar to our Australian Kerry Greenwood's Miss Phryne Fisher. Maybe a little bit more believable, really. Phryne Fisher seems to have the ability to do everything. She flies, she shoots, she does everything. Whereas Miss Ashford is a lot more down to earth and a lot more believable, really. Even though Miss Phryne Fisher, I really did enjoy the series, and they made a television series on Miss Phryne Fisher, and I enjoyed that as well. But this one is more believable. It's more of a cross between Phryne Fisher and Miss Marple, where she's younger, but that Miss Marple, where she's a little bit more believable. They're brilliant. Now, the others in the series are a fatal encounter in Tuscany and a mystery in Provence. They're a really good read. Now, also, Vivian Conroy has written around about 29 novels, not in this series. I think these are the only 3 in this series so far. These date from 2022 and 2023. I think she wrote the last 2 in 2023, but the first one was in 2022. But she has written another series, and there are some standalone novels as well. She's a good writer. It's just a nice, comfy holiday read. I recommend them. They're really good fun. And as I say, they are a cross between Phryne Fisher, I would say, Phryne Fisher and Miss Marple. So they're good read. Platypus Matters, Jack Ashby. If you want to know about Australian mammals, definitely this is one. Not too scientific-y at all, but scientific-y enough that you will... it makes it interesting, and and I think when you're talking about wildlife, there has to be some scientific formula in there, because we need to know how they came about, how they evolved, and of course, how they breed and how they live. And but yeah, you've got some diagrams here even of how the pup hatches and all of that sort of thing. So yeah, that's a really good one. And really, 2 novels, if you are wanting great stories, historical content in both of them. It's set in Australia by an Australian author, won an awards. This is Shankari Chandran, Chai Time at Cinnamon Gardens. Brilliant. And this is, everyone, this is the heat, I think. It's making me a little bit itchy. Maude Horton's Glorious Revenge by Lizzie Pook. Absolutely brilliant. It was better than I thought. I was looking forward to it, but it really exceeded those expectations. I loved it. I was hooked. That's it for this week. I hope you're all doing well. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, you are definitely experiencing floods and deep snow. I hope you are keeping warm and fed well. Here in the southern part, Southern Hemisphere, we are definitely having hot weather. We haven't, for the last 4 years, we haven't really had, here in central Victoria, we've had quite mild summers, unusually, really. So these normal temperatures that are now they at one time were normal, they are now rising again, and we think we may be sadly heading into another drought over the next few years. We've been here long enough to know how the weather's unpredictable anyway, particularly nowadays, but it's leading us to believe there are just signs that are telling us we're in for a bit of a drought, I think, over the next few years. As I say, our dam is half or below half capacity, and that hasn't been like, hair, or a bit of fluff, I think. Sorry, everyone. That certainly hasn't happened to us for a number of years now. It has perhaps dropped a foot, but not the way it is. We have an island in the middle of our dam, and you can almost, in one part of it, you can almost walk across the water to the island, which we haven't been able to do since we really had the dam dug out 13 years ago. So it is a bit of a worry. But anyway, we just have to do and deal with what we deal with. We had we had 4 tanker loads of water. We have a very large water tank. For the capacity of the roof and everything, it's quite large, and the fact that we don't get much rainfall during the year anyway, we're trying to capture as much rain, but it never fills up our tank completely. So we have a 110,000 litre tank, and we have 4 truck tanker loads of water. Only it gives us probably the capacity for maybe 1 or 2 more tanker loads. We like to keep a little bit at the top empty, so that if it does rain, we're not wasting water by the tanker overflowing. But yes, we did have to have 4 tanker loads this last week just to fill it up so that we are comfortable in case we have fire. And it's just nicer to know that you have a full tank and we can water the garden when we need to, and we can, we are very water conscious. We have buckets under our sinks. When we wash our hands, that water then goes onto the garden. We have a bucket in the shower, so when we fill that up, which is usually 2 showers, we fill up the bucket, and that Mark usually takes that out to the garden. Also, we have buckets in the laundry and the kitchen sink. I wash in a bucket in the kitchen sink. I wash all the dishes, and so that water then goes out to the garden. We have another little half sink. There's a bucket in that, and we use that to wash or rinse off plates or wash vegetables, and then that water also goes out onto the garden. So we don't I mean, we probably could do better, but we really try not to waste any water. It's usually used once or twice before it goes out on the garden. For instance, you know, the dishes are washed, or we wash our hands and then we take it out. You know, we don't let it go down into, we are on septic here, and we don't let anything go down the sink to go sit in the septic. We do every now and then, just to keep the septic flowing nicely and doing its thing. But for the main part, we use buckets, and we use that water outside. We just have to, everyone. Otherwise, we would be buying water much more regularly, particularly in summer, than what we do already. So yes, we try our best, and that then allows us to water the garden and have a garden. Although some of our trees, we try to be good with that too. We grow trees that they may need watering in the first year, but they're really drought tolerant. It's just the little plants, or perhaps the fruit trees, that we have to water to keep them fruiting well. So yeah. So that's it, everyone, I think, for this week. I will see you hopefully on Saturday for our next travel video. And I'm going to try and get this uploaded for you for tomorrow at 9 o'clock, Monday, the 20th. And I hope you like these books. Please do yourself a favour. This is absolutely fantastic. And this is an oldie but a goodie. I absolutely loved it. Of course, if you want to know more about Australian mammals, and the Vivian Conroy books, they're really good. And they're set in different locations around the world as well, which is nice. Okay, I shall leave you for now. I need a haircut. I have hair in my eyes. I'm feeling a bit flat because it is so hot. And we have driven, Mark drove to the location yesterday, and I drove back today. We took our time, but you know, it's 3.5 hours in the car. We enjoy it. I love it. I don't mind driving, actually. I really do enjoy it. But, you know, on a hot day, it does leave you a little bit flat. So I apologise. I'm a bit flat today. And we did have a big night last night. We had a few champagnes, and we had much chatting with friends, and I think none of us could probably tell you what the conversations were about. But whenever we get together, it's probably like your friends. You're talking so much, and we're talking to each other and over each other, that you don't ever finish a conversation, and you don't always fulfill that conversation. It's just wonderful. I love it. It's like family. It's just family, and they're wonderful people. So, all right, I'm going to leave you. I hope you have good friends too, wherever you are, or good family, that people you can rely on and have a good chat with and have a good laugh with. We always laugh. I laugh with family as well. We always have a really good laugh. But anyway, I will leave you. I'll get this uploaded. Take care, everyone. Happy reading, safe travels wherever you're going, good eating, make sure that you eat well and fresh, and I shall see you next video, wherever that may be, whether it's the travel or the next book recommendation. Okay, take care, everyone. Bye for now.